It is my honor to welcome the parents of current Holy Cross students as well as parents of the future class of 2025 to this evening's Meet the Chaplains webinar. I am Laura Nelson, the Hospitality Coordinator at Campion House, the home of the Chaplains Office, and I will be hosting tonight's conversations. To all of you joining us this evening, let me share a little bit more about the Chaplains Office. We offer a welcoming, inclusive environment for spiritual guidance, opportunities in worship and reflection, community outreach programs, spring break immersion, and international trips, as well as retreats throughout the academic year at our Contemplative Center off campus. Many students know us as a house on campus that has freshly baked cookies every afternoon and is a quiet spot for studying. It is my hope that by the end of this virtual informational webinar, you will get to know each chaplain and have a greater understanding of what brought them to their positions at Holy Cross. In true Campion spirit, I am sure we will have some laughs along the way as well. The director of our office, Mary Beth Kearns-Barrett, is unable to join the live meeting this evening. I would like to start out with a recorded message from her.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Mary Beth Kearns-Barrett. I'm the director of the Chaplains Office. As I reflect on what brought me to Holy Cross, I actually realize I have come to Holy Cross 3 different times at 3 different points of my life. I came to Holy Cross first in 1984 as a brand new student. I was drawn to the college by the beauty of our campus. When my parents and I had driven up Linden Lane for the first time, I looked around and thought, this is college. I experienced a sense of place at Holy Cross that ended up playing an important role in shaping my imagination as I explored questions of who am I, how do I make sense of the world, and what contributions do I want to make? I returned to Holy Cross in 1991 as one of the college chaplains. My 4 years on campus as a student led me to discover that those questions that I had about who am I and how do I make sense of the world and what contributions can I make had everything to do with how I experience God and what it means to form a faith community. I wanted to be part of accompanying other young adults in their search for meaning and purpose, just as others had been there for me as a student. Finally, I came to Holy Cross in a new way in 2009, when the first of 3 of our children enrolled as students at the college. This was a time of great joy for my husband Chris and I, as we had the opportunity to give the gift of a Holy Cross education to our children, just as our parents had done for us. Their experiences were each very distinct, and whether I was watching Daniel in his lab where he did summer research in the physics department, or greeting Kate as she returned from an immersion trip to El Salvador, or listening to Sarah describe how delicious her poetry class was. The undercurrent of all their experiences was one of growing thoughtfulness and a strong sense of purpose and a deepening realization of God's love. As a parent, I couldn't ask for anything more.
Well, I'm grateful that Mary Beth was able to share that video with us. And now let's jump in and learn more about the rest of our chaplains. The first 2 chaplains that we're going to hear from took very different paths to lead them to the same place. Let's start with Marty Kelly, Associate Chaplain and Advisor to SPUD, the Student Programs for Urban Development. You were born not too far away from campus. Can you tell us more about where you grew up and the path that led you here?
Absolutely, I'm happy to. Hello, everyone. As Laura said, I'm Marty Kelly, and my background here is the Campion living room, where we have lots of opportunities to engage students. And as Laura said, I'm from just 5 miles from here in Worcester, grew up here, went to public schools in Worcester. And so through a circuitous route, I sort of ended up back here. My earliest memories of Holy Cross growing up was I played youth football and our team was the Crusaders. That's the Worcester team. And purple and white, and we used to sell raffle tickets at Holy Cross football games. These were the big games back in the 80s with Doug Flutie and Gordy Lockbaum. And so we sell a lot of raffle tickets and go to the games. So I thought I sort of grew up in the mecca of college football, at least for a 9-year-old. So Holy Cross has been a part of my life in one way or another since those early days. And fast forward many years, I ended up myself at Stonehill College. And for me, that was my first experience of Catholic education, and it was transformational. I worked with campus ministry through retreats and service. I think that's where the seed was planted for my own desire to be a part of ministry. After Stonehill, a few stops along the way, I was in Colorado for a few years, spent some time in graduate school in Cambridge studying theology. And then in 2007, came to Holy Cross, and my wife, Meg, who's on staff here and who you'll hear from in a few minutes, she was already at Holy Cross, and I was excited to join this staff and to work with her. And, Holy Cross has become ever more central to my life. Meg and I were married here. Our sons, 3 boys, we lived on campus for 4 years together. Lots of crazy stories there. And so it's become really just a part of my life. Now I have the great privilege of inviting students through SPUD, again, Student Programs for Urban Development, which is our primary community engagement volunteer service program. I have the privilege of inviting students to really get to know my hometown, the people of Worcester. It's great diversity, it's many institutions. So, that's a great spot to be in for somebody, again, who grew up here and who loves this place, and I love introducing students to it. And we have, again, it's the largest student organization on campus. So lots of students engaged in the city, and I'm privileged to be in that spot. So great. Thank you for being here with us.
Thanks so much, Marty. And I have to say, it's great to watch the light go off in students' eyes or their head when they realize that Meg and you are married, because it took me a while to figure that out. And also, I'd love to hear the crazy stories about raising kids on campus sometime, but that's for another time. Thank you, Marty. So now we're going to move on to Amandi Andrew. He is an assistant chaplain in our office. You grew up much, much further away than Marty. Please tell us more about the path that led you from Africa to Massachusetts.
Thank you very much, Laura, and welcome all of you who are listening to us. My name is Omondi Andrew. Sometimes I play with kids. I tell them my name is 0M0ND1. And they go like, what? I said, yeah, Omondi. I'm like, all right, we got it. But anyway, like Laura has already explained, I come from Africa. I was born and bred in Kenya, in a far coast place called Mombasa. Now people wonder, why do you come to such a cold place here in Massachusetts? I'm like, well, the ways of the Lord you can't talk about. Only God knows. So my work has been so much in classroom. I've been teaching, I come from teaching background and working in the missions in Africa. Mostly I worked in South Sudan, and after a very long time teaching and being with the students there and experiencing some of the things that they were undergoing, I felt I had so much question in me and wanting to really to know God more and finding out some of these questions that were really disturbing, especially from suffering perspective. So before I realized, I was asked to come to Boston College, where I did my theology, Boston College School of Theology and Ministry. I did my theology there. And after finishing, I went to Indianapolis, where I also taught again back to classroom. But this time, I think I had exhausted my teaching techniques. I think I was tired of being in a confined class. So I got a touching from God. Like I said, the ways of the Lord you don't know. So I got a touching from God. And again, I felt like I needed a much more wider field where I could do my mission. So here I am. I got an opening here at the Holy Cross. I knew some few individuals who had gone to Holy Cross, who had worked here, and they were really talking so much about it. And my wife, who also was not living far away from Holy Cross, invited me to come back. So I came back to, again, the New England, and got a chance here at Holy Cross. And now I work as a chaplain with athletes, student athletes. So you see, from classroom to the field, opening from a confined four corner into a wider ground. So I really enjoy myself at the moment working with the students, trying to make sure that at least they have a break from all those tough physical moments that they undergo, either could be in classrooms or in the field. So this has been one of the blessings that I have managed to bring with, and also to receive from the students that I work with. One thing that I shared with Marty is I am currently also living in the campus with my family. So like Marty, who lived here, I now live in the campus with two of my kids. And the little one is 10 months old, started to walk. So thank you very much. So that's me, Omondi Andrew. Back to you, Laura.
Thank you so much, Amandi, and we're certainly grateful for that journey that led you here to Holy Cross. Here's a fun fact. 4 of our chaplains are alumni. You have already heard from our director, Mary Beth Kearns-Barrett. She's the class of '84. Let's hear more right now from Emily Rower Davis, class of '99, assistant chaplain and director of domestic immersions, and her deep connection to Holy Cross.
Thanks, Laura. Hi, everyone. As Laura said, my name's Emily, and I'm in the class of '99. Like Marty, my whole life, I grew up going to public school. And so one day when I was a junior in high school, my dad, who was a Lemoyne College grad, came home with a catalog of Jesuit colleges and universities and said, why don't you take a peek through this? I knew I was interested in studying psychology, and I wanted a smaller school. And so Holy Cross seemed to fit the bill. And actually, when I arrived at Holy Cross, I was a very homesick first-year student and thought very seriously about transferring. But my parents urged me to stick it out, and I'm so glad that I did, because it really has shaped the course of the trajectory of my life. And I'm not sure that I would be doing what I'm doing right now in ministry if it was not for Holy Cross. So that's been a great gift. So after I graduated, I spent a year doing service in Central California, and then went to graduate school, and then have worked in a few different places, mostly Jesuit and Ignatian institutions, and landed back at Holy Cross about 7 years ago, where I've been ever since, and I couldn't be happier. One other fun fact is that Mary Beth and Father Hayes were my chaplains when I was a student here. So they were mentors to me as a younger person and continue to be, but now they're also colleagues. Meg Fox Kelly, another colleague, was a dear friend at Holy Cross. We graduated in the same class, and then we ended up going to graduate school together and living together. So there's a great connection there, and now we get to work together. And Marty also, I went to grad school with, so lots of fun connections even among our staff. So it's a pleasure to be here and a pleasure to work with all of your children. And we hope that we're able to meet you in person sometime really soon.
Thanks, Emily. Okay, let's hear from another alumna who became a chaplain, as Emily alluded to. Meg Fox Kelly, class of '99, associate chaplain and director of retreats. Would you share a memorable story about your time as a student on campus?
Sure, thanks, Laura. Hello, everyone. As Laura said, I'm Meg Fox Kelly. I'm also a graduate of the class of '99 with Emily. And I've been back here at the college working as the director of our retreat program for the past 16 years. So I oversee our retreat program as well as all the work that's done at the Joyce Contemplative Center, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a couple minutes. But as far as a great memory, when I was a student at Holy Cross, I have to share that similar to Emily, I was an extraordinarily homesick first-year student. I reluctantly came to Holy Cross in 1995. It was my second choice school. I really had my heart set on the University of Notre Dame and got the rejection letter from Notre Dame and the acceptance letter to Holy Cross on the same day, April 1st, 1995, which I remember very clearly. And came to Holy Cross reluctantly because I had two older sisters who had also come to Holy Cross and I wanted to do something different than them. So I had a hard transition to the college, but the thing that kept me at Holy Cross was the community that I experienced through the work of the chaplain's office. It was in the chaplain's office and connecting with other students who had similar ideas and interests, but also the conversations I was able to have with students about faith, about injustice, about the world. And it was the friends that I met through the work of the chaplain's office that kept me here. During my sophomore year, one of my favorite memories at Holy Cross is when I was a sophomore, I went on a retreat called the Spiritual Exercises, which is a 5-day silent retreat that we still offer today. And during that retreat, I went on it because my two older sisters told me to go on it. I had never been on a retreat before. I didn't know what a retreat was. And I showed up at this retreat center and had to be quiet for 5 days. And I was really the first night ready to run out of the retreat center and was cursing my sisters because what had they told me to say yes to? So I was in this quiet retreat, and what it did for me was it gave me the opportunity to come to have a deeper relationship with God, but also with myself. And the exercises provided me 5 days to think and pray and reflect and come to know who I wanted to be, but also who God was for me. So for me today, it's a great privilege to be able to oversee the work that's done at the Joyce Contemplative Center, to be able to help other students pause in the midst of the chaos of life at Holy Cross, to slow down, to think, to pray, to reflect, and to have the opportunity to come to know themselves and who their God is. We're going to show a video in just a minute of the work that's done at the Joyce Contemplative Center, which will give you a really good sense of hopefully where your children will visit during their 4 years at Holy Cross once we're back on campus full time. It's about 15 minutes from campus, and we offer a variety of opportunities all throughout the academic year for students to come to the center for retreats, for weekend retreats, or for, like I did, the 5-day retreat of the spiritual exercises. So I'm going to turn it back over to Laura, who's going to put a video to give you a sense of the space that we have at the Joyce Contemplative Center.
The Contemplative Center was built with the hopes and desire to meet students, faculty, staff, and alumni, and all participants wherever they are on their spiritual journey and whatever faith tradition that they come from.
The care that went into designing it, I think, suggests something of importance about the space and therefore importance about the spiritual life to Holy Cross. Views out to the reservoir, the chapel with its magnificent cross, a wonderful conference room where we can have meeting and discussion. We have a beautiful dining room and wonderful food to go with it, a great fireplace area.
It's architecturally seems to be designed to bring the outside in and the inside out, and so that's every room that we sit in, whether we're in meeting or in chapel, it's like sitting outside.
It's 15 minutes away, but it doesn't feel like you're in Worcester. It feels like you're someplace else in the world and you're so disconnected from everything.
But at the end of the day, there is this need to find God in all things and to take care of your whole self and to look for more and search for more. And I think having a contemplative center allows us to do that.
I feel like a retreat at the Contemplative Center would be a way to find out more about yourself. If you take it seriously and you really want to reflect, not to go just because your friends are there, but because you want to better yourself, it's a way to do that.
The Contemplative Center gives you a chance to both notice where God is speaking to you or engaged with you in your own prayer and in reflection while on retreat, but also a chance to think back on the experiences that you've had over the course of the week or the course of the year.
I thought, what an amazing opportunity to take an inventory of how I've been living my life from Holy Cross, men and women for others, the last 38 years, and the last couple of days have really helped center that and to bring into clarity, how I've been spending my time.
As we grow into this beautiful new space, it is becoming a more sacred space for people to feel at home, to feel like themselves, and to become more deeply aware of who they are and their own spiritualities.
Thanks so much, Meg. JCC is truly a very special place, and I hope that each of your children will have an opportunity to attend a retreat there. Some of our chaplains have traveled to far and away places before arriving at Campion House. Father Jim Hayes, who is an alumnus, class of 1972, is the associate chaplain for mission. What has been one of your most memorable travel experiences? I know you've traveled many times with our very own students.
Yes, good evening, everyone. I am class of 72, which was the last all-male class. Well, the last class of an all-male school. So it's been wonderful to be back at Holy Cross with your daughters here. And, I was in ROTC when I was at Holy Cross, and I thought once I joined the Navy, I would see the world. But in fact, I was on a ship that just went up and down the East Coast. It was kind of dull. But once I joined the Jesuits, I had lots of opportunities to travel. I spent 4.5 months in India in my first year as a Jesuit. And that was a powerful experience. And so I wanted to do my regency in a foreign country, and I ended up in Jamaica for 4 years. But I also spent 5 months in Uganda, in Africa. I spent a summer in the Dominican Republic, and I studied theology for 3 years in Canada. So I've spent a lot of time outside the country, and it's a great privilege to accompany your sons and daughters to different countries. I've taken students to Jamaica, to Mexico, to El Salvador, to Kenya, to Tanzania, to Nicaragua, to Guatemala, to Dominican Republic, to Cuba. But I think my all-time favorite place is taking the students to Haiti. We have a program with Be Like Brit, which is a local organization, and we take students down there for a week to an orphanage where there are 66 orphans. And in the course of that week, we actually build a small house for a poor family, and we learn as much as we can and immerse ourselves in the Haitian culture, but we have so much fun with the 66 children. They're just full of life and joy. And I think I've gone 5 times now, and it's really a powerful experience. And it's so nice that it's connected right here to Worcester. So I hope that your sons and daughters will take advantage of our international immersion program. It's one of the most transformative experiences that we offer.
Thanks so much, Father Jim. So next up, I have a twofer, the same question for 2 people. It will be both for Father Keith Maskowitz, Assistant Chaplain Liturgy, and our Director of Liturgy and Music, Lawrence Rosania. Father Keith, why don't you go first and share how and why you decided to go into ministry?
Sure, thanks, Laura. Father Mac, I go by Father Mac here, so that's what the students call me. It's a lot easier than trying to pronounce this name right here. I do mostly work in the chapel, so I work with liturgical ministers and help with liturgies and try to schedule, and that means keep the Jesuits in line and well behaved, which is, that in itself is almost a full-time job, right, Father Hayes? Yeah, exactly. So I've been asked to talk a little bit how I got into ministry. So I also went to a Jesuit school. I did not go to Holy Cross, sad for me, but I went to Fairfield University down in Connecticut, and I graduated from there in 2004. The first weekend I was there, I was actually a transfer student to Fairfield. And the first weekend I was there, I went to Mass with my roommate. And this campus minister came up to me and said, do you have any questions about campus ministry? And I said, yeah, what is it? What is campus ministry and how do I get involved? And she's like, well, what do you think you want to do? And I said, I don't know, maybe hand out that communion. That looks like I could do that or something. And she was like, yeah, we're starting like formation next week. Why don't you come by my office? So I did. And then I just started kind of getting more involved. And then I was doing service trips and local service and whatever. But I'll never forget the invitation that was first extended by this one campus minister who became a mentor of mine. And actually, I was just talking to her on the phone the other day. So to be able to kind of keep in touch with her over all these years. So I entered ministry after college. I started working in high school in campus ministry, and then I started working in a college at the University of Scranton in Pennsylvania, another Jesuit school, all before I entered the Jesuits. When I got to Scranton, I wanted to be that inviting presence for students like that campus minister had been for me. And so I had kind of an open door policy. And I remember I was in my office once, it was after a weekend retreat that I had helped with, and the student came knocking on my door and she said, hey, Keith, what are you doing? Do you have time to talk? And I said, I'm not doing anything, come on in. So she sat down and chatted. And a week later, knock, 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 she was back again. And she said, hey, what are you doing? And I said, I'm not doing anything, come on in. And we just chatted. And the third week she knocked, knock, knock, knock. And she said, hey, what are you doing? And I said, I'm not doing anything, come on in. And she said, what do you do around here? Which I laughed at, of course. But it was, I very seriously said to her, this is what I do, is I got paperwork to do, and we all have paperwork. But when there's someone at my door, I say, come on in and sit down and chat. And I would say that's a lot of the work that we do in the chaplain's office. In COVID times, we're doing a lot of it on Zoom, but we're still doing a lot of one-on-one work with students. And, you know, the days are long sometimes, but it's worth it, I would say, to be of support to students, especially in this time of need. So it's part of the reason I got in, it's part of the work I do, it's part of the reason I stay. So that's a little bit about my ministry. Lawrence?
Thank you, Father Mac. Thank you, Laura. And good evening, everyone. I get to work with Father Mac a lot, and as you can see, that's a lot of fun. As it is with all of my colleagues. And by the way, it's been great to hear all your stories, some of which were new to me. So my own story is perhaps a little different in that this for me is something of a second career. I will admit to you right away, I'm not a Holy Cross grad, nor am I a grad of any Catholic college. It took me to grad school until I got to a Catholic institution. But rest easy, that was a Jesuit institution. So that was the beginning. But most of my life has been lived in New York City, actually, as a professional musician. I had a very wonderful career doing that. But at some point, it occurred to me that that's not everything that I wanted to do. And what I wanted to do was in some way give back from what had been a wonderful career and working with wonderful people and wonderful experiences. So Holy Cross afforded me that opportunity to give back from a very gratifying career that I had already had. And I just want to share with you a couple little stories that for me encapsulate the meaning of Holy Cross to the second career I've had. One is a young man came to Father Mac, expressed interest in being a cantor, and I direct music at the college. So I met with him. Lovely guy. I said, come and sing for me, and we'll talk about it and see what you think. So he came and he sang, had a fine voice, but was very shy and awkward as a 19-year-old boy can be. And I said, you have a marvelous voice. I think you would love to have you come and sing. Have you studied? He said, no. He said, but I'd really like to sing because I think it would give me more confidence and I would feel better about myself. So immediately I said, come and see me. I'm on campus twice a week. Come and meet with me. Let's just sing. So we have been meeting, and I'll meet with him again tomorrow. And every time this young man sings, there is suddenly more confidence. You just feel like you're hearing his real voice. And he will step into that cantor role soon, I'm sure. The other story has to do with a course that I teach. I co-teach with a professor in the music department of all things Gregorian chant. And you may think, well, who on earth is going to sign up for a Gregorian chant class? But statistically, it turns out to be one of the most popular courses on campus. In fact, we have to add another section every year because the waiting list is so long. So a couple of years ago, a fellow ran up to me on the street, Main Street here in Worcester, where I live. And he said, oh, excuse me, he said, you're Lawrence Rosania, you're the director of music? I said, yes. And I thought, I know who this guy is. He said, you did the Gregorian chant class, didn't you? I said, I did. He said, oh, I'm Bob Chesney. I'm the new head football coach. I said, I know who you are. I've seen you in every newspaper and television. I know who you are. He said, can I just thank you? I said, oh. Well, it turns out in this Gregorian chant class where kids are singing Gregorian chant, that's what I'm there for, to teach them how to sing it and to do it. He said, we had about a dozen of the varsity football team in Gregorian chant class. And they came the first day, they sit in the back row and they're goofing off. Well, by the end of that class, they had turned into great students. We do a Vespers in the chapel where all of the students sing a Gregorian Vespers. These guys, a big row of them, belting out Gregorian chant. They used to belt out Gregorian chant to me on the campus. Hey, professor! They would sing Deus in Auditorium and sing one of their chants. But Bob Chesney said to me, thank you so much. He said, the guys still talk about that experience because you gave them respect and care and interest in this course, and they responded to it and they loved it. And he said, you know, unfortunately, they're football players, they're jocks, they're not treated this way in all their courses. And I want to thank you for treating them that way and making them feel like they too had a place at Holy Cross. So all of this proves the point to me that in terms of second careers, I did make the right choice, and I'm very privileged to be here and to work with your children.
Thank you so much, Lawrence. It sounds like the Gregorian chant course should be maybe required. And as Father Mac mentioned, the chaplains are available to meet with the students. So if you do want to set up a meeting, we can set those up virtually. So you just have to contact our office. All right, one final person. To know the chaplain's office is to know our office manager, Andrea Grant. She is my office mate. And as her office mate, I know that she's never idle and she knows everyone on campus, including staff, faculty, our student workers, the players in the rugby team. What are some of your involvements outside of our office?
Thank you. Hello, everyone. As Laura said, my name is Andrea Grant, and I am the office manager in the chaplain's office. Laura and I are the first faces your students see when they walk through the front door of Campion, and we always try to make sure that we make that building feel like home. I also work closely with Meg, helping with the logistics of our retreat programming. My husband, Ryan, is the Senior Associate Director in Residential Life and Housing. So we actually live on campus with our sons, Julian, who is turning 10 next month, and our other son, Jackson, who just turned 8 this past Sunday, along with our Boston Terrier, Jojo. So you'll see her walking around campus. In addition to rugby games, you'll see our family attending homecoming, basketball games, theater performances, which my boys have been a part of here on campus, and the annual Christmas tree lighting, and so many other campus events. Aside from my duties at Holy Cross, I'm a volunteer for the Distinguished Young Women National Scholarship Program and a volunteer wish granter for the Make-A-Wish Foundation of Massachusetts. I'm also on the board over at the Touchstone School where my boys attend. That's in Grafton, Massachusetts. And I love to bake on the weekends. So that is a little bit about me. And as Emily said earlier, I'm anxious to see all of you when we're able to gather on campus again sometime soon.
Thanks so much, Andrea. And that's why we get along so well, because we love to bake and eat cookies. So that's it. We've heard from all the chaplains. And I just want to thank all of our chaplains for being so candid this evening about their experiences prior to arriving on campus. To those of you watching, thank you for joining us, and we hope to welcome you to Campion in the near future with open arms and freshly baked cookies. We also encourage the parents listening tonight to participate in more of the college's webinar offerings during Family Week. Thanks so much. Good night.